Hi, good people. How are you doing? Ida Momanyi, your relationship and marriage coach. Today, I want us to talk about the vows. Um, the vows that we take in a marriage setup. I'm gonna read it: to have and to hold in richness and poverty, in health and sickness, all the days of our lives. So, the Bible says it's better you don't vow than vow and do not keep the vow. This is in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 5. It is better not to make a promise than to make one and not keep it. We have become a generation that cannot be held accountable by the words we say. Marriages have become contractual and short term. This was never the will of God, the author of marriages, who takes the vows seriously. To God, the vows are sacred and everlasting. That is till death. To God, vows are a covenant between the couple and Him. One insight I must give you guys is to know that the vows are very serious and they will be tested. They'll be tested in the life of the marriage, each one of them, in richness, in poverty, in sickness, in health. And God expects you to uphold your integrity and respect for the union throughout till God takes either of you. Knowing how serious the covenant is, it's better to do your due diligence before you say, I do. You would be on your partner before settling down. To know their flaws and good side before you can seal the deal. This is to avoid the mess of divorce and ruining your relationship with God. A bad foundation of marriage will lead to unstable marriage. Make sure God is at the center of it before you start the journey. The work becomes easier if you know God, then in humbleness you can consult Him for guidance in prayer. That's why He was that's why He was faithful to give us a manual of what would help us to make it work. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. This is an unconditional love. In return, your wives will submit to you, thus having a healthy life. For every union, God has a purpose in it. To better the society, the family is the most basic unit of the society. A healthy marriage means a healthy society and eventually accountable individuals who can be relied upon. God wanted to have a perfect example of God's love to the church, so a marriage should mirror. Th- That's that's why it's not His will to see us get divorced. The same way He holds on to us at our worst, He expects us to do the same with our partners. Constantly forgiving, constantly loving, and respecting our partners. And though it may seem so hard, especially in our generation where we seem to have um, thrown in the towel as far as permanency in marriage is concerned, I think the biggest failure that this generation fails is lack of patience. One, we want perfection. We want this perfect marriage that we've seen in our heads and in the through social media and through other avenues that we have seen, such that if we do not get uh, that kind of picture in our unions, we walk away from them. Then we have really materialized our unions in a way that if it doesn't have money or the things that we consider luxurious and lavish, people are so weak to walk away. There's no patience, there's no uh, waiting on one another, there's no like hanging on onto your vows and things like that. And that's why we are seeing so many issues in our societies, because we have broken the very values that God gave us. And then someone may ask, is it so easy to keep the vows? To be honest, it's not. Marriage is not easy. Marriage is hard work. Marriage is being intentional. Marriage means intentionally choosing your partner every day, even when you don't feel like it. Intentionally choosing to remain in that marriage, even when the circumstances are not favoring the situation. Constantly forgiving, constantly seeing the best in your partner. That's the only way that these unions will stay. But if you are forever seeing the negatives and you have these raised expectations of what marriage should be, which are mostly superficial, or the painted pictures of what movies show us as romance should be, or they have painted the picture of what the marriage should look like, which is not true, because we are very different. Our personalities are very different. Marriage means different things to different people. And whatever you may be looking for in a union may not be the same thing that I'm looking for in a union. So again, I cannot plan my marriage according to how you've seen in a TV or how you've seen your neighbor's marriage work. What works for them may not necessarily work for you. So when you understand all these complexities, you will be able to appreciate that every union is different, and it takes a lot of purpose, intentionally deciding this must work, and intentionally deciding to keep your vows. And if God takes vows that seriously, then we should also plan to have a good relationship with Him by maintaining the vows. So by the time you're thinking of walking away, by the time of you're packing those bags, stop and think, what about the vows? They were not just made for the sake of making them. So let us plan to intentionally work on our unions. Let's engage more. Please tell us how has it been? How has the marriage work been? Is it hard? Of course it's hard. What are you doing to make it hard, to make it easier? Are you rekindling your love every day? Are you making sure that communication is always on the table? It's something that you guys are intentionally pursuing. Are you making sure that this marriage is about the two of you and you're not allowing other people out there? Because you see, the vows are between you and your partner. And the responsibility is on both of you to make the relationship work. It's not about your friends, it's not about your family, it's not about your parents, it's not about anyone else who has been with you guys. It's about the two of you. So let's engage more, and let's discuss on how we can best keep our vows.